Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone around the world. I am Paul Sisler, and this is In the Moment. You'll notice that I put up a suicide hotline at the beginning. Suicide rates are up in the United States from about 2001, where they were at around 21,000 a year. They're now broaching 50,000 suicides a year here in the United States. So if you're someone that's in need of help, you're in crisis or whatever, call somebody. Call somebody. I'll put that number back up at the end of the show. Um, Thank you for coming on today. This is In the Moment, and this segment is called Democratic Philosophy. And today we are going to discuss a couple different things. We're going to start with no labels, and then we're going to talk about the country going on shutdown. So, and with us today we have Jeremy Baker. Hello, Mr.
Hey,
Baker.
what's going on? It should be an interesting show. Lots to talk about.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Now, I'm not big into knowing who no labels are in relation to who's funding them. Other than what I've heard in like a lot of, I go into a lot of third party spaces, and
Hmm.
a lot of the discussion is that Joe Manchin will probably be running for no labels, and that the whole purpose of no labels, so they say, is to make sure that Trump doesn't become the nominee or president.
Hmm.
Now, you, on the other hand, have heard other things going the other side of that. So jump on
Yeah,
in.
I've been trying to read between the lines on this one. As a result of like Trump and MAGA, that we live in this society of we're going to tell you we do one thing, and then behind the scenes we're going to do something else. So I've been paying closer attention to it. And I remember coming to you a year ago saying, "Oh my God, I found this new political party. It might be a great option." Called No Labels. It was just, you know what I mean. And I actually am upset because they were the first political party I donated a couple dollars to, and I want my money back, by the way. And yeah, so come to find, they tell you that this perfect third choice, we're going to restore democracy. Actually, here, let me go ahead and play the ad before I even get it. This is one of their ads that they have.
Okay.
Tired of the yelling, the interruptions, the insults? Democracy shouldn't be a three-ring circus. No Labels wants to put common sense back on your ballot. There's no debate. No Labels is the future of American democracy. Join today.
Yeah. So it sounds great on the surface, but come to find out, they're funded by the same billionaires that are like Harlan Crow, the same billionaires that are kicking back, the Clarence Thomas and others. It's just, I think what it is, the Republican Party realized they've lost all hope when MAGA took over. Now they need another option to rebuild the Republican Party on, and I think that's what No Labels wants to be. Republicans 2.0 or whatever you want to call them.
Right, and that's kind of how I see them. And again, I see them as someone that's trying to build. And now, if they're genuine, and that's what they want to do, is they want to rebuild the Republican Party, more power to them. Because I'm all for the adversarial government that we have, where we have different viewpoints coming at a problem, trying to come up with solutions to solve it from different perspectives. I think that's excellent. But now, if they are someone that is there to actually support Trump and bring him in through the back door, then I mean, geez.
I keep calling them a Trojan horse. That's like the best analogy I can come up with. I feel like they're there simply to divert votes away from Biden. And that would be really the only thing, because we all know Trump has his base, and his
Right.
base is not going to turn away no matter what. So you have what's left: independents and Democrats, and independents make up the large part of it. You know what I mean? So if they could sway some of those independents in a neutral direction away from Biden, I mean, every vote that they take away from Biden is a vote for Trump. It has the same effect for the most
Well,
part. So,
let's go back to 2020 for a moment and all that. When Biden won the presidential election with 81.3 million votes, and
mhm.
Trump lost with 74.2 million. What a lot of people don't realize is that both of them had very close to 39 million people from their party vote for him. In other words, Democrats, there were about 39 people that were registered Democrats that voted for him, and Biden, and 39 million registered Republicans that voted for Trump. Okay. The remaining votes came from independents. And independents, you got almost 40 million votes from independents and 21 million votes from independents for Trump. And then, of course, the rest are people that are affiliated with third parties, you know, like the Green Party, the Libertarian Party, the Constitutional Party. And obviously, about 10 million of them voted for Trump. You know, the majority of them voted for Trump. And that's what brought him up to the 74 million. And that's also why, you know, Biden had 81 million. But when you look at the independents decide who get elected. And when you're looking at these third parties, no labels, you have Robert Kennedy that is probably going to go independent or with the People's Party. You got Cornel West in with the Green Party. No labels, Joe Manchin. So it's like, it's kind of scary to think that, you know, they could open up a path for Trump, and then Trump, he's looking at being taken off of the ballot in some states. But if he's still running, and even if he doesn't make the 270, then it comes down to one vote per state for delegate, which is a total of 50 votes, and 26 states are going to be Republican, are going to throw a Republican tally out there. So even if there's no path for Trump, he could still become president.
So we know from voting that, I mean, really, they only have to sway a couple states. They could focus all their energy on a few key states.
Yeah.
You know, that are maybe split down the middle. And if they were able to take, you know, win in that state, they would take it away from him. It's the same effect, like I said.
Right. So what part do you think no labels is playing in this then?
I don't know. I'd like to think that there's a bipartisan option out there, but I just don't think no labels is it. Not with the people that are backing them. We all know how Harlan Crow likes to spend money on his politicians. And like you and me have always talked about for like the last year, we're all tired of the corporate politics.
Right.
And I think it's just more of the same. I think it's more of the same. I mean, I understand Democrats are corporate politicians too, but there's still the best option that we have at the moment. But I think no labels is just more corporate politics. It's just going to be more money for the rich, less money for the poor. Everybody that's, you know, needs the money gets screwed. Same scenarios we have now.
Right. Okay. You had another video here on no labels. Let's go with that.
Calls itself moderate and balanced. Their plan could end up paving the way for an extreme far-right candidate like Donald Trump. Historically speaking, a third-party candidate typically ends up siphoning moderate votes away from the main candidate. So instead of working to bring, quote, anyone but Trump to the White House, no labels might actually be securing his return. The group didn't come out of nowhere. No Labels was founded in 2010 after the Tea Party arrived. Its goal was to reorient U.S. politics and, quote, speak truth to partisanship. No Labels created the House Problem Solvers Caucus, which in recent years has done some good work, pushed through the COVID relief package during the Trump administration and the infrastructure framework during the Biden administration. But while friendly problem solving sounds great on paper, what No Labels is doing now at the presidential level is less effective, and it is potentially dangerous.
So, yeah.
Well, and again, that's from MSNBC. You know, I know there's a lot of people out there, especially on the left, that just love MSNBC. I wonder, did Fox have any? Does Fox promote No Labels at all?
I don't know. I don't know if they do or not. I wouldn't be surprised if they do. But yeah, it just, No Labels is simply, oh my God, how do I want to put this? I think their entire purpose is to just continue this far right agenda. And if anybody had any common sense, anybody with any common sense in this country could not possibly even take the chance of putting Donald Trump back in office. And by no labels entering, they're not going to win because they don't have that kind of support. All they can do by entering this election is possibly put Donald Trump back in office. That's really all they could possibly. That's really the only impact they would have.
Yeah, it's well, I don't know. I just don't know. You know though, I'm someone that does like third party disruption, and I know this is going to piss off a lot of my liberal friends, but I like the third party disruption. I like these third parties coming in here and trying to sell themselves, and I know a lot of people on the left are like, but this isn't the time for a third party because we have to make sure that Biden wins. And I also agree with that, you know, because I don't want to see Trump in office, but I'm also in the aspect of I'm so tired of all these damn corporate politicians on the left and the right that are in office, and they disallow good candidates to come up. And of course, as you know, I go to a lot of on Twitter Spaces. I go into a lot of forward spaces, Yang Gang, you know, and I really like the Forward Party, and I wish they would run a candidate, but I don't think they are this year. They're more on changing the way that we vote, and this is a strong thing with me because the way that we vote now is the reason why we get stuck with, you know, a Donald Trump and a Hillary Clinton, a Donald Trump and a Joe Biden. Again, corporate politicians. Excuse me. And I know the people on the left are going to be mad at me because I put down Hillary and I just put down Joe, but they're corporate politicians. Okay. And we're not getting enough progressive candidates on the left and the right. And I want something like ranked choice or star choice voting, because then you have more people that are running and they don't have to be backed by the DNC or the RNC. And I think that they would have they would then have as good of a chance at becoming a candidate. And I think we need a broader candidate base out there, more people to choose from. And the DNC and RNC prevent that right now.
There is. I mean, I just like what the Republicans, but I just like what the Democrats are saying right now. I just don't think we should take focus away from. I mean, let's be honest. Like, we're going to talk about the government shutdown too. These people over the last 8 months have gotten nothing accomplished. Republicans have it in Congress. I mean, they've had 3 gas stove hearings, none on gun violence. They proposed ridiculous amendment after ridiculous amendment. We have to somehow return to some sort of normalcy and some sort of continuity, because Trump really screwed everything up. I think if we would have, there was a video that most people know from the Midas Touch Network named Tennessee Brando that went viral, and it was about not electing Hillary is the worst decision that America ever made. And I believe that as a fact now. Not electing Hillary back in 2016 was probably the worst thing that ever happened to this country. Because think about what we could be right now had we not to go through all this. Right now, all this hate, all this violence, all this corruption. I mean, maybe it's good though that all this is being exposed. Now we really all get to see the corporations being involved, and we can see the corruption.
I think it is, because I mean the statement that you made about Trump messing everything up, I'm going to push back on that because I disagree. Okay, and I just saw your eyes go, what? Like, Paul, what?
Oh no,
I don't like Trump. Make no mistake, I don't like Trump. But what I'm trying to say is that he's just a symptom in a cancer that was already there.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay. And he brought it to light. And the only reason why I think that, the third party solution right now may not be the best solution is I've read Project 2025.
Yeah, it's scary.
And that scares the hell out of me.
Mhm.
So when I see third parties like No Labels coming up, in one way I'm like, yes, yes. And another I'm just like, oh my goodness. Oh man.
Right.
Because
There's
I want to see the chaos of all these
Yeah.
different parties coming to light. Because I want them to shake everything up because I want the system to get better.
Mhm.
All right. And the direction that the system is going now is not good. This
No.
duopoly must be broken. But now I'm put back on that fence of, do we have to wait one more election to do it? And
Right.
and I'm so on the fence about it because I want the chaos. I want the disruption to come in, and
Mhm.
yet I see what 2020 Project 2025 is, and it's just like, but I don't want that.
They are looking for someone to implement that. I mean, you and me both know they're just looking for a candidate that is willing to put that into play. And we already know certain people would. Trump definitely would. DeSantis absolutely would if he didn't write the
And
damn
so would
thing.
Vivek, you know.
Yeah, Vivek Ramaswamy's dumb enough to do anything for money.
So for me, I'll take
Um,
anybody as president right now, other than those three. I will take Joe Manchin. I don't like Joe Manchin. I don't like his policies, but I would feel okay with him as president. Pence, Christie, Kennedy Jr. or Robert Kennedy. I don't agree
no,
with a
not
lot
that
of his
guy.
policies. I think he's kind of
He's a
um,
nut job.
well. I won't go as far as nut job, but
I will.
I will say that he's on the Cocoa Puff train. Okay, but I still wouldn't be scared with him as president. You know,
Mhm.
um, same thing on the Democratic side. I'm looking at some of these Democratic candidates and all that. My favorite, of course, as I've said it before, is Marianne Williamson because of her
Mhm.
um, uh, economic bill of rights. I really love what she has going there. I would love it if her and RFK would actually team up. I think that would be a winning combo. And again, I know there's people that it'll never happen, but you want to
No,
talk.
I
If that
think.
did happen, if that did happen, I'm telling you, they would get elected. They would get
Yeah,
elected.
I think RFK Jr. is going to be Donald Trump's running mate. They deserve each other. They're both crazy.
Yeah,
I think that'll happen. That'll be crazy. It doesn't make any sense, and I think that's exactly why it would happen because
yeah,
nothing makes sense anymore.
yeah. So, I don't know what to make of No Labels, and I don't know what to make of this whole election that's coming up. I think it's going to be chaos. As much as I want to see a Democrat or a third party in office,
Hmm.
I got a feeling it's going to be a Republican. I just hope it's not one of the three that I previously mentioned. I will take anybody else. I just don't want any one of those three in office.
I can see. I mean, I'm just worried that something happens to Biden before the election because that I think would definitely cause a massive amount of chaos and disruption in the next election. That's the one thing I worry about. I think after the election, it doesn't really matter because then Kamala would take over and whatnot. But yeah, I think if something happened before the election, that could be detrimental
I
to
truly
our.
expected at the beginning of this year, I thought for sure that Biden would step down and that
Yeah.
Kamala Harris would take over. I truly believed that was the route the Democrats were going to go. Um, Everything that I had read and seen, and the legislation that I was looking at, the pattern I was looking at, I truly believed that was the route that they were going to go. And Biden is sticking it through. I
He
truly
is.
thought after 2 years he'd step down and Kamala would take over. And I thought she would
Wow.
take us into a war, and because no wartime president has ever lost an election.
Hmm.
So I felt like she would, or Biden would take us into the war, and Kamala Harris would be somebody that would be involved in working on getting us out of it, and she would retain, um, you know, get reelected. I truly thought that's the way the Democrats were going to run it. But
Yeah, you know, you might still be right. You know, if he gets reelected, maybe he'll step down the next term and put him in place.
I don't think he's going to get reelected. I want him to, but I don't.
I want him to, I just don't want. I don't know, man. This is such, I think it's going to be the most important election of our country's history. I mean, democracy is literally on the ballot this time, one way, shape, or form, depending on who you pick.
I agree. And I know that it's been used a lot, but again, read Project 2025 and you'll see it. You'll see it.
It's funny. They could actually use democracy to actually end democracy.
Yeah.
Use it against itself.
All right. So let's move on to our next topic and all that. The shutdown.
Ooh, yeah. This is good.
Oh, wait, before we go into the shutdown, condolences to the Feinstein family and all of their friends, relatives, and stuff like that. For those that may not know, Dianne Feinstein passed away. I think it was Thursday night.
Yeah. And she seemed to be up and about. I believe she was up taking pictures with someone hours before she passed. Do you know what the cause of death was? Like, what did we even know what happened?
It's due to shingles. Not that I don't think shingles is the direct cause of death. I think it was complications from shingles. That's the last that
She was 90 though.
Well, yeah, I mean, she was up there in age too, you know. I mean, so
yeah, I mean, advanced age. I don't know how somebody would want to still be in Congress. See, that's the thing I understand about, like, even Joe Biden. Why would you still want to be dealing with this mess at 80 years old? I'm 46, and I would be like, I'll do 4 years of that, but then I'm out. I'm retiring after that.
I'm 54, and you know, let's say 2028 I ran and all that. That would be 5 years from now, so I would be 59. 4 years would be all that I would want in it. I wouldn't want to do anymore. I mean, 63 is supposed to be retirement, I think. So, or they move that up now to 65 or 68. But anyways, you know, 60s is supposed to be retirement and all that. I don't think that anybody, you know, whatever the last retirement tier is, say it's like 72, I think is what it is. I don't think anybody at that age should be running for president.
No, I don't either. I mean, you should be home, you know, relaxing with your family, enjoying your accomplishments, and, you know, thinking about all the fond memories you've had. Not like that.
I think that when you start getting up there in that age, I think there should be an age limit, an age max.
Well, there is a congressman, Democratic congressman, that is trying to get. I forget. Damn it! I knew I should. I think I saved the video. I don't know if I have it or not. If I can pull it up right now, where he talks about age limits, term limits, for not only Congress but Supreme Court justices. You know, no longer lifetime, but like there's people actually talking about this. This is, you know, a lot of things have come to the forefront as a result of like Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump. You know, I mean, we've exposed not only corruption within the government, but that we maybe should be telling people you're a little too old for this now. You should go home.
Yeah, well, and even in my
There's
book,
nothing wrong with that.
Even in my book, The Red Herring Effect, I address term limits, and I don't go so much into the max age as I do the term limits and all that. Like the Supreme Court, we have 9 justices and all that. 12 years on the Supreme Court, and I think that every 4 years there should be a vote for 3 new justices. And I think the justices, since they're being partisan, you know, they're showing their partisanship. I think they should be elected. They should run for the Supreme Court, and we the people should decide who goes on the Supreme Court. And with that, every 4 years, you have 3 new justices that are taking over for the 3 justices that just served their 12-year term.
I mean, why not? I mean, it makes sense because we can see what happens when you have a corrupt president that is able to put his choice of Supreme Court justices up the SCOTUS. You know what I mean? So it does make sense. Hopefully there's some reform as a result of all this scandal and corruption and
I hope so.
Health problems, because there's a lot of people on. I think last time I looked, a couple years ago, I think it was like 8 to 10 people that were in their mid to upper 70s, approaching 80. And then, of course, Dianne Feinstein was 90 or 91. So yeah, it's time to talk about age limits. It's not, it's not ageism or anything like that. It's just, common sense.
Well, we have a minimum age that you have to be to run for House, and
Right.
Senate, and President. Why not have a max? And
Yeah.
if you want to claim ageism on the elder side, then let's just make it, hey, you turn 18, you can run for any office, or 21. If you're going to call it one way, you got to call it the other way.
Yeah, that's true. So what do you think of this government shutdown? Today's the day, actually. Today's the deadline.
Politics.
Yeah.
I think that, there's a possibility that it might actually happen. And I have seen people saying it's not a big deal if it shuts down. It's not a big deal. Not for a few weeks, they can come to an agreement within a few weeks, after it shuts down, then there might not be any problems. But there's going to come a point to where government funded things are not going to be having income coming into them.
Imagine.
Social Security, welfare programs,
Food stamps.
Food stamps, state parks, law enforcement. I mean, it's just going to continue to run out. Our military. I
I wonder how long they could pull this off in a shutdown. I mean, they're just shooting themselves in the foot. They're just the second time in this year that they've held this country hostage. First time with the budget, and then now with this. It's just, and apparently there was a deal. Biden, we'll play the video here in a little bit. They had a deal. Biden and McCarthy had a deal, but because McCarthy is spineless and completely controlled by the House of Crazy in MAGA. He takes all the orders from them. And we talked about it before, about all the backroom deals he must have made to get elected to be speaker. Now he's got to live up to all those backroom deals.
Right. But see, I like that aspect.
Mm-hmm.
I wish the Democrats would have done it when Pelosi was becoming Speaker of the House. I wish the squad would have held her gavel hostage like MAGA held McCarthy's gavel hostage, because then Medicare for all could have been put up on the House floor for a vote.
Yep.
This is where Jimmy Dore and I are in alignment. Okay. Mm-hmm. I mean, again, I like the idea that they made deals, and I think McCarthy needs to uphold his end of it. Now, not that I like what the deals are.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if you're going to be a part of it, because you got to remember, the Speaker of the House determines what comes to the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what's going to get voted on, and if you want things to be put up there, and you are a minority crowd that's in there, then that's your power. If you want that gavel, we want this, or we're not going to give you the gavel. And then when you give it to us, you need to go through with it. Now, again, I don't like these deals that they want, but I like the way that they went about it, and I just wish the Democrats would gain a spine and do the same thing, because then we could get more stuff done in Congress.
I agree. That's a good segue into our next video. Let me play the Hakeem Jeffries. I love this guy. I hope he runs for president in the future.
Once again, extreme MAGA Republicans in the House have demonstrated their complete and utter inability to govern. We are in the middle of a Republican civil war that has been ongoing for months and now threatens a catastrophic government shutdown that will hurt everyday Americans, hurt children, hurt military men and women, hurt veterans, hurt seniors, hurt women, hurt families, hurt the economy. And there is absolutely no reason that we should be facing a government shutdown at this moment.
He speaks the truth. I love that guy. Hakeem Jeffries he kind of reminds me of Obama. You know what I mean? He's very well spoken, direct to the point. You know where he stands. I like the guy.
Yeah, I like Hakeem Jeffries and all that. If you go to congress.gov and you go to Hakeem Jeffries and all the bills that he proposes and stuff, he's still a corporate politician. He's got a lot of corporate bills up there, but he's also got a lot of humanitarian bills too. So I like some of the stuff that he proposes. So
yeah,
again, and you look at the bills that he co-sponsors. Again, he co-sponsors corporate bills, but he also co-sponsors humanitarian bills. I got a show on Thursdays called Who Wrote the Bill? And I've been reading through a lot of these bills of the 118th Congress, and I'm disgusted by a lot of them. Majority of them on the right. A majority of them on the right. There's even a few on the left that it's just like, what kind of whack job decided that this was a good thing? But the whack job bills, there's so many more on the right. It's disgusting.
They're staggering. Some of them, I can't even, of course, I'm not going to be able to list any off the top of my head, but yeah, some of the stuff they're proposing is just absolute bonkers.
Now, there are some good bills. The right are proposing some good bills.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll bring those to the show too. But, for the most part, Democrats are doing way better on the bill proposals than what the Republicans are doing this session.
So what does the government shutdown mean for Americans? I'll play the next video. I'm getting interested in these videos.
Care about the government shutdown?
Well, first of all, we are going to see hundreds of thousands of government workers bear the brunt of this. And I find this to be sort of the most objectionable part. So they'll either get furloughed or they'll be forced to come into work and not get paid.
What?
So that could be, up to 1 million people. Then on top of that, active duty military will not get paid. So the people protecting us will not get paid. And on a more sort of a minor basis, but if you're a traveler, you're going to a national monument or a museum, some of the facilities could be closed, the monuments could be closed.
Okay.
It could get tough going through an airport. We might see personnel changes. People who don't get paid to come into work sometimes don't come into work, even if they're asked to.
This is all, we just should be clear, this is all at the direction of Donald J. Trump. He wants them to desperately defund or somehow mess with the cases that are going on, and this is how they're going to do it. They want to shut the government funding down, thinking that this will somehow delay or stall all his federal cases. This has nothing to do with American people, has nothing to do with politics. Let's be honest, it has to do with Donald Trump and MAGA, like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert and Matt Gaetz, people like that, Jim Jordan, doing his bidding, because they are all just Trump sycophants, and he's their puppet master.
That is a probable theory. Bring the receipts on that. I would love to do a show on that. If you can bring the receipts on that, I would.
I'm sure they'll come out in the wash. I'm sure they'll come out in the wash.
It's a good theory. It's a good theory. It's a good working theory. Regardless of whether Trump is behind it or not, the bottom line is that we know that the small group of MAGA Republicans that are holding McCarthy's feet to the fire are definitely pushing for this. That we do know. And the result, she just pointed out the beginnings of it. I want people to be clear. If we were to go on a shutdown and within 2 weeks after the government shuts down, if they don't come up with a solution to get the government back up and running, that's going to bring further hardships, because now you're going to start looking at supply lines. Now you're going to be looking at food distribution. You're going to be looking at people who have jobs that rely on certain supplies being delivered for sale are no longer getting distributed. this could have a huge chaotic domino effect.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
if the government were to shut down for say 3 months,
Mm-hmm.
4 months, you're talking about people that don't have social security benefits coming in. They no longer are getting medication. They're no longer getting food. You're talking about insurance. It's not going to be people working at government insurance companies like Medicare, Medicaid.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about people that could die.
Yeah.
Okay. You're talking about a very, very bad effect on this country. This could be something, again, a theory. I know that the right wants a civil war to start. Well, tell me a better way to start one than this. I mean, when
This
people,
could, yeah,
when,
this
when
could
people,
cause violence.
yeah, when people can't afford basic needs and things like this start going away, you start having family members taking ill, getting sick because they got no social security coming in. That's you're now injuring the civilian population. This is not good. This is not
Well,
good.
just from a travel standpoint, TSA is government funded.
Yeah.
They're government employees. Do you think these TSA agents are going to work for 6 months with no money dealing with people every day?
No. No.
So then they're going to apparently essentially shut down the airports as a result. You know what I mean? They're going to be so short staffed. I mean, some people may dedicated come in, despite all this, but most people they're not going to be able to do that. No, and most people can't work for free. Most people work paycheck to paycheck or live paycheck to paycheck. You're not
Yeah.
going to be able to afford to continue to work for no money. And then the military thing, our entire national defense could be compromised because our military members aren't being paid.
Well,
They don't have a choice. They have to work, but
right,
at
they're
the same
still
time,
going to work, but it sucks that they're not getting paid. And then if they say they're in the military and they have a spouse that is living on a military base, where are they getting their food now? You got no money coming in.
Yeah, exactly.
Do they have an outside job? Have they got employment somewhere else? What are they relying on? So now you're starting to hurt the families of the military. It's not so much hurting them as it is if they have a family. So
these are more reasons why I think this is all as a direction by Trump, because he doesn't care about anybody. He doesn't care if anybody gets hurt or if they starve or if they lose their homes. He doesn't give a shit about that stuff. The only feasible reason to do this shutdown is to stall his cases. Why else would you shut down the government and put millions of people's lives at risk? Like you said, medication, food. People get the housing subsidies, rent subsidies, LIHEAP, stuff like that. Help with their electric and gas bills, and it's getting ready to be wintertime. It's all political. It's 100% political. And it's all to get one person back in power. It's always what it is, to get one person back in power.
And of course, the left is going to blame the right is going to blame the left. So you're going to have that blame game going on. And it's going to be left to people to make the decision on who they truly believe is to blame. And I mean, logic would dictate that, it's the MAGA Republicans that are doing it. That's what logic and deductive reasoning dictates. But there's people that they're the news outlets that they watch and how it's going to get propagated to them is going to affect their belief systems. So if you have one media outlet that's saying the Democrats are to blame, the people that watch that media outlet are going to believe that the Democrats are to blame, and vice versa.
I have kind of a funny clip that I can show you. Have you ever heard of the Alien Super Show? I think I've talked to you about this on the Midas Touch Network.
Yes.
Let me play the clip that it's funny, but it kind of talks about what's going on. And there's one reply that I want to. Oh, nope, hold on, wrong button. I'm getting there. I'm a little slow today. Too many shows, too many videos. All right, now I'm getting to it. There we go. There it is.
Okay.
House that MAGA is tearing down.
The speaker himself even more frustrated with this group of breakaway conservatives.
Why are they voting against being... Think about what they're voting against. They're voting against even bringing the bill up to have a discussion about it, to vote on it. If you're opposed to the bill, vote against the bill at the end. You've got more than 170 amendments. You could change it if you don't like it. But the idea that you vote against a rule to even bring it up, that makes sense to me.
Kevin McCarthy really is just like an overripe avocado. He's so squishy. He's just this squishy level 1 HP goblin, one gust of wind, and he will just perish. Like he can't hold up to anything at all. He's so bad at this.
This guy's about to be fired by clowns.
Yeah, he's high-pitched quitting.
Think about what they're voting against.
Think about what they're doing.
It defies logic.
Boggles the mind.
Why would you vote against it?
It's a goddamn paradox.
This is stupidity. The idea that we're going to shut the government down when we don't control the Senate, we don't control the White House. It's a clown show. You keep running lunatics, you're going to be in this position.
I forget that guy's name, but he's a Republican. So there are Republicans that are absolutely fed up with this behavior as well. So it's not just the Democrats that are fed up with it.
Right. And even though that was, that was funny.
It's funny.
Still, I mean, I'm not going to put down how the Republicans put McCarthy in this position because this is what we're supposed to do. And again, I don't agree with what they're doing, but I agree how they obtained the power to do it,
Mm-hmm. I think it's a matter of what they asked for in order to get the power. You know what I mean? If you're asking for good things, like I'm not going to support you for speaker unless you fund, this project that helps kids across America, that's one thing. But if it's like, I'm not going to support you unless you impeach Joe Biden with no evidence whatsoever. You know what I mean? I guess there's a difference between the closed door.
There is, and that's ridiculousness. I mean, if you're saying, well, if you don't put it out there that we're going to impeach him, then I'm not voting for you. Well, then don't vote for me.
Right. I mean, he wanted that job so bad, though, that he agreed to all these ransom demands.
You see, this is where I would then get up on the floor and say, okay, this representative doesn't want to vote for me because this representative wants me to impeach Joe Biden. I'm not going to do that without evidence.
Exactly.
So this is ridiculous.
And it's funny now. I mean, they've gone ahead and they're trying to go ahead with the impeachment proceedings, even though under Trump, he made it so there has to be a congressional vote on proceeding with the impeachment hearings, if I'm not mistaken. And now they're just bringing witnesses and they're just breaking their own rules. There's no continuity to this party. They don't stand for anything is the problem I have.
Yeah. No,
and they're willing to shut down the entire government to get their way. It's sad.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, 300 plus million people are going to suffer as a result of a handful of congressmen.
I know. And see, and as an independent, these are the things that are going to push me to vote left.
Thank you. Exactly.
These are the things that, as an independent, are going to push me to vote left.
You're absolutely right. And I think that their whole plan is backfiring in their face. Hell, we did one of our first episodes. We talked about being woke. Their whole tirade against being woke just made people more woke. So the more they do this, there's just everything they touch backfires in their face. Every investigation they've tried, every impeachment inquiry they've tried, everything is literally backfired in their face for 8 months now. You would think they would just give up at some point and go, maybe we should compromise at some point. But no, they keep doubling down. They're like bad gamblers. Every time they lose a hand, they're going to double down and make an even worse bet. And now our entire government funding is at stake. This is their next bet.
I know. I'm interested in seeing where it's going to go.
I hope it turns out, like you said, I hope it's short term. I don't want Americans to suffer, especially service members who signed an oath to defend our country against enemies, foreign and domestic. I like to point out that we have a lot of domestic enemies right now. And this is another, we've said it before. The insurrection is currently still happening, and this is part of it. Okay, this is the January 6th. That was the beginning of the insurrection. That wasn't the whole. Well, no, actually, it was before that. But you know what I mean? That was like the kickoff point, and it's still going on. The same people that organized the insurrection are still in the government. And until they're out of the government, their whole motive is to overthrow democracy. We know they want to. We know they want to install a dictatorship. This could be the vote that ends democracy for good. It really could. And I think people need to think about that more. Do you want your democracy, or do you want the Trump family forever? Think about that for a second. That should give you nightmares.
Yes, it does.
Well,
it does.
let me play. I may as well.
Gives me nightmares.
Yeah. Since we're getting close on time, let me go ahead and play Biden's response.
Yes.
To this whole thing.
In the meantime, I want to say a word about those in Congress who are willing to shut down the government. Just a few months ago, the Speaker of the House and I agreed to spending levels for the government. We were up right to the very edge, almost reneged on our debt, and that we're going to fund essential priorities and still cut the deficit by $1 trillion over the next decade. Now a small group of extreme House Republicans, they don't want to live up to that deal, and everyone in America could be faced with paying the price for that. We changed it. We made a deal. We shook hands. We said this is what we're going to do, and now they're reneging on the deal, which is not much of a surprise these days. And the black community in particular is going to suffer if that occurs. For example, shutdown is going to risk nutrition assistance to nearly 7 million moms and children. It's going to disproportionately affect black families.
Yes, I mean, I at least when I hear Joe Biden speak, same as the one that was Obama, I just get the impression that he gives a shit. And I think that's the most important thing. Do we want a president who cares about people, like he's the grandfather that loves his family, or do you want the degenerate grandfather who slept around his whole life and now he's like that gigolo that everybody sees walking around with too much bronzer on?
Well,
man, our country's at stake. Our whole democracy is at stake.
You know, I'm going to bring up another thing that I hear people talk about. You know, because again, they say Joe Biden's too old. Joe Biden's too old. Donald Trump's only 3 years younger than Joe Biden.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, granted, I can see, literally, I can see where people might see a difference between the two, because when Trump does come out, Trump has high energy. He's loud. He's boisterous. Joe Biden, you know, is a little softer, a little, you know, a lot calmer, more professional. Right. And people see that as his age creeping up on him. I think Joe Biden is, for his age, he's pretty damn sharp.
Absolutely.
You know? Just as Donald Trump is pretty damn sharp, you know, for his age. And like him or not, you still have to admit that, you know, he's still pretty sharp. And granted, both of them, they flub words, they lose their train of thought. I'm 54. I lose my train of thought. I flub up words. Okay. Yeah. You know, so to pick on them for these things as they're getting a little bit older, I think is garbage.
Yeah. Okay? I like the stuff Donald Trump says is insane though. Like recently, I'll give you something that's kind of funny, and this is totally serious too. Donald Trump recently made a statement in the speech, I think it was in South Carolina, about how the wind turbines, he heard that wind turbines are killing whales, that whales are just washing up on the shore. And this is, of course, not happening, okay? But he heard that. So I did some more digging. Turns out there's an article that came out that people in Wales, the country of Wales, are complaining about the noise that the wind turbines are making. And Donald Trump thought they meant whales in the ocean, and that they were messing with the sound, was messing with the whales. He's also claimed that the wind turbines, the sounds cause cancer. I mean, I've got a whole like folder full of Trump flubs that are insane. Like, I don't know if he believes. I feel like he's like if he's mentally sharp, he just believes in the most weird shit. You know what I mean? If he is mentally there, he is on some very strange websites where he gets his information from, because some of the stuff he says is just out there.
See, this is where the cult mentality comes in, though.
Oh God,
okay,
yeah.
because it gets to a point to where no matter what you say, people are going to believe.
I know,
And
but
where what I don't know is if, like you said, does Trump believe these things that he's saying, or does he just not care? And because he knows it'll get a laugh, and he can throw it out there, and people are going to believe it, and he doesn't care how idiotic it sounds. In fact, is he challenging the idiocy of his supporters by throwing stuff out there intentionally, as crazy as it is, to see if they'll believe it?
Well, you want to talk crazy? Like, all right, UAW. We just did an episode of the Esteban Hour about the UAW strike. Donald Trump it set it up. This is complete Russian, North Korea style propaganda. Okay. He set up an event at a non-union shop. There was no union workers there. Gave a speech. They handed out auto workers for Trump signs and union workers for Trump signs for people to hold up. Now, the national news covered it, like Fox and OAN and Newsmax. They covered it as, oh, look at this. UAW supports Trump. No, well, some local people, because everybody knows Trump hates unions. So some local news stations went and investigated a little further. Well, they actually asked a few people that were holding signs, and it turns out that people that were holding UAW for Trump signs weren't from the UAW, and people that were holding auto worker Trump signs weren't even auto workers. They were literally just people that were either paid or agreed to hold signs at a Trump rally. And it was only in front of like 500 people. And of course they say, oh, it's the biggest crowd ever and it's massive. You know, but Fox News, Trump is just the idiot that says this stuff. Okay. Right-wing platforms online, even Twitter, and others. And then the right-wing media is the megaphone that literally takes this dumb stuff that he says and amplifies it out into the world. I mean, Fox News is still the most watched news network in this country. Figure that one out. They just lost $800 billion or $800 million for lying to you, the viewers of Fox News. It's like they feed them shit, and then their viewers are like, oh, we want some more. It's like, why would you believe somebody? Like, oh, they're going to tell the truth. Now they got caught. So from now on, they're going to tell the truth. But that's what we're dealing with. And I don't even understand how places like, I know I'm getting off topic, like places like Fox News and OAN, how the FCC doesn't pull the goddamn broadcast license. They're not reporting news. They're reporting nonsense. And it's all steered towards the right. And this is pushing people, like you said, this is the stuff that's going to push people to the left. They think they're going to do their due diligence and gain supporters, but all they're doing is alienating 3/4 of the country by doing it. So it's going to backfire like everything else they do. Sorry, I got an awful little tirade there.
That's all right. That's all right. All righty. Well, I think this is a pretty good show. We covered a lot of bases here and talked about a lot of things. Remember, everybody, doesn't matter which side of the aisle you're on, okay? Take the time to check into things, do some research.
Yes, please.
Open up your mind. Go to congress.gov. Start reading the bills. Check out my show on Thursdays. Who wrote the bill? Who wrote the bill?
It's important to know. You got me into that, actually. I didn't give a shit before I met you. You
got
me into all that.
And if you're on the right, you're going to see how idiotic some of these bills are that your constituent, that the people that are supposed to represent you are writing, and how they don't represent you. They represent corporations. If you're on the left, you're going to see that the Democrats do the same thing, that they write bills that don't represent you. They represent corporations. And I know it's more heartbreaking for those on the left than it is on the right, because I think the right, actually expects it and wants it, where on the left, we're expecting representation for our human rights above property rights, and we're not getting that, even though I am an independent, I am more of a leftist. I do believe in human rights over property rights. So that's where I stand, you know. And when I read these bills, it becomes frustrating. So I ask you to go to congress.gov, go to the legislation tab, and just start reading the bills. Just start reading the bills and see if you're being represented the way you voted to be represented. And if you're not, start looking at who you vote for. Okay.
Important. Very important.
Yes. All right, everybody. Remember, be kind, be happy, and may good things come your way. And I'm going to play the suicide hotline numbers. I'm going to put those up. And if you're somebody that is having mental health issues or needs someone to talk to and all that, and you're in a mental health crisis, please reach out. Please reach out. Your life is important.
Absolutely.